listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katee Van Horn.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Inclusive AF podcast. My name is Katee Van Horn.
And I am Jackye Clayton.
That one was perfect. I think that one was perfect.
I thought it was good.
We have a guest on, and I think we should start asking guests if they think that your pause between first and last name is appropriate or not. I think we should start taking a
little
poll.
Much.
Yeah, a little much, a little too much. So we have a great guest today, and we will turn over to Laura Close to introduce herself and share a little bit about herself. So Laura, welcome.
Thank you. Jackye, I thought that your pause added gravitas and impact.
Oh my gosh, I'm putting that on a shirt.
There it is.
With it dash Laura Close.
Yeah, Laura, you're creating a monster, and I don't think you know it.
Well, thanks for having me on this podcast. I'm a huge fan. I had a chance to really listen to the back episodes and think about both of your long and committed careers in what's now called the DEI space. And it's sort of always a little bit of an honor to spend time with folks who really put their life's work behind this effort. So I am one of the 3 co-founders of Included.AI. We are Salesforce for DEI in the enterprise, and we can get into that later. I am a cisgendered female. I identify as she, her pronouns, and I'm also a mother. I am straight, but I came up through radical queer community. It was a huge influence on my trajectory. And I also came up through white anti-racist people's movements inside the United States, and was mentored by movement leaders who had been at it for decades before I came along. And I'm new to the software space, and I am the only non-technical co-founder on my team. Yeah, so I come to technology from the DEI side of the house. Yeah, I mean, did I already say that I'm a mom? I think that's a really important part of my identity too. I'm a mom with 2 kids, and it's a huge influence, on how you see the world. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. So first off, how old are your kids?
Well, geez, the little dude is 8, and my older one is 10.
Awesome. Okay.
Aww.
So Jackye has college-aged kids now, so she's kind of over the hump a little bit, which is
mom
good.
of 2 adults.
Yes.
I made it. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm the aunt of 18 kids of various ages, from like 1 to 33, I think is the oldest one. So, I can go pluck them out and like pick whatever age I want. It works out perfectly. All right. So Laura, tell us a little bit about your career, because I love that you have in your profile that you started before DEI was DEI. So tell us a little bit about that, a little bit about your career.
I like to joke that I'm whatever chair I end up in within anti-racism and DEI movements is always on the sort of the uncomfortable edge. So now, like today, we're here because I'm founding software in the DEI space, but originally, I was heavily influenced by the Undoing Structural White Supremacy workshop series that came out of the Bay Area that was led by Bettina Martinez. And the original cohort there were part of my mentors. And then nationally, many Black liberation leaders had a chance to sit with me and kind of help me think through as a 18-year-old and a 19-year-old, sort of how I was going to shape my political career. Which went on for a very long time nationally, building consciousness around ally work and what that means. And the joke is always that, I was running around talking about structural white supremacy at a time when it was not a term that was in parlance and anywhere near what we would have now. And, even my extended family, the baby boomers above me, both my parents and probably my husband to be's parents were like, can you just slow down a little bit? So,
It's a little intense.
Right. And so, I have a habit of like being like, look, it's the third rail. In fact, after political consciousness raising around the United States and a lot of networking, community, and capabilities building among political strategists, I went on to paid work for a while, which was really cool to be paid money for community and union organizing. At which point I worked on campaigns that were organized. They were very innovative campaigns that were organized around welfare affiliated workforce, which is a whole different conversation we can get into another time. But it took me to every single part of the state of Oregon where I was located at the time, both the eastern outskirts close to Idaho, as well as the heart of downtown Portland, Oregon, so forth and so on, really thinking critically about disproportionately female welfare identified workforces and what it would really mean to build leadership among women of color in those populations, to access voice and vote, to raise pay and to get healthcare for those populations. It's a very formative experience for me as well. And then I had kids, y'all. And I was like, how do you like make money to like feed them and stuff? It went on for a long time with me being like, if it's not wealth transfer, it's not happening. And so I had a big think, and I founded an executive coaching practice in Seattle because I discovered sort of through trial and error that political campaign strategy is directly reproducible into a career coaching framework. Influencing, tactics, campaign, the whole 9 yards. And it's been a very successful practice. I stepped back. So I'm now just in an oversight role over the business. I still own it. It's called Close Cohen. It's here in Seattle, Washington. And I've had this amazing journey in the last 18 months of founding DEI tech, very analytics forward, sophisticated data capabilities. And the last thing I'll say here is that, we've met with hundreds of DEI leaders in the enterprise, chief people officers, people who are passionate about diversity. And it feels like when I was 19, it feels like going around the country and meeting the movement leaders, but they're in the enterprise. And it's a really cool and powerful feeling.
It is.
love it.
That is, it's so inspirational. We're getting ready about to have Black History Month. And can I tell y'all something?
Yeah.
That it's related, I
Always.
promise. So like my whole life, like we've been doing this work, especially about like in the recruiting space and talent acquisition. And I've worked with corporations and as an advisory piece of telling them like, okay, this is what should happen. This is the format. And usually they're like, oh yeah, I'll do that part, but not that other one, not really interested or whatever. Or can we do it in stage, how it's broken down. And I have to tell you, it blows my mind that I'm at a company and I'm like, yeah, so figured we'd do some movie watching together as an organization, starting with Unapologetic, about 2 Black queer women in Chicago during the death of, with the protests.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, pause. Like I was waiting. Like I had already practiced this in my head, probably since I was 12 years old. No, that's not going to work. We can't do that. Too many people. Are you sure? People are going to get upset. And none of that happened. Right? It's like, is this really happening? I think it's happening, right? Like the hair stood up. I mean, people are really, we are seeing more. We're not there yet, but I'm getting more yeses than nos. Has that been your experience as you've been talking to people?
I mean, the desire right now that we're fielding at Included.AI, I mean, I can't reveal the totality of what's happening on our side, but like some of the highest placed corporate leaders in the United States have been like, hey, I need my diversity data immediately. And I also need to know how to model it and how to measure it. And we're like, okay, yeah, we got you. I mean, the hunger for precision is how I would answer your question, right? The willingness to know the real story is at an all-time high.
Which is amazing. And I think it's so interesting because, we're having different folks on, and data is like the red thread, I feel like, for so many of these conversations, that people, like you just said, are hungry for what is our data and what does it mean, or how should we analyze it and interpret it? And I think it's just interesting because you're right. Like that has never been a conversation before. It's like, oh, hey, HR, go do that D&I thing and let us know if everyone liked the party we threw for Black History Month. And you're like,
right,
that's not what this is. So
No.
I love that, data is something, as you are saying, that, folks are reaching out and people in powerful positions are asking, how do we think about this? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's an incredible moment. I mean, I feel like I would only be telling you things you already know. The consensus is it's a fever pitch right now in terms of, we just need to know the truth so we can action on it. And that's really the solution that we brought to market.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I want to kind of jump back to something you mentioned earlier, the structural white supremacy. So I want you to tell our listeners, what does that mean? What does that, like, as they are thinking about this? Because a lot of the folks that are listening are in HR or are recruiters or are in this space. So would love for you to share a little bit about structural white supremacy.
Let's just take a moment of silence for the spirit of bell hooks to support me through this moment. I have not done this since I was 19. So
we've got you. We're here for you. We're good.
Woosa.
So, I mean, all up, the concept is that, in any society, there are structures. There's the legal institutions, there are institutions of learning, there are institutions of work and socializing. Everything has an institutional component within our society, right? The ways that we conduct our experiences, and woven into assumptions at the core of all of these institutions are assumptions of supremacy of certain groups and populations, and whiteness is a part of those sets of assumptions. Also, there's been a very famous dialogue inside the United States about the assumption of men as more valuable. And we can see this, for example, in the founding documents of the United States about who got to even be a voter at the origin points of the nation. And when we roll forward to current modern days, we talk about biases in the hiring process, right, within the private sector, right? The assumption of who makes a good engineer, right? The assumption of what kinds of physical abilities are required in order to conduct a job, right? So when we talk about our differently abled populations, right, so forth and so on. So when we talk about white supremacy, we're talking about the assumptions that are baked into how things are conducted and executed throughout society and all the institutions, that whiteness is the preferred modality for all things to occur. How did I do, guys? It's been a long time.
That was phenomenal. That was very, very good.
That was
yes.
brilliant.
And the reason why I asked that question very purposefully, because I think this is, this is kind of at the crux of CRT in a lot of ways, at the crux of so many of these conversations that are going on right now. And so to understand that it is that the default of whiteness, the default of maleness are the things that this country was built on, as you mentioned. And for folks to understand that and then it's that, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I think folks need to start seeing some of these things that they have not seen before and really realize what impact that has on every single thing that you're doing every day out in society, and how that just completely changes when you go, wait, why are we doing it this way? Or who said? I saw something today, and it was Henry Ford actually came up with the 5-day work week, that it was 8 hours per day for 5 days. And it was a meme, like kind of he's big jerk face kind of thing, like what then he came up with that. But it's that same kind of thing, like this is just an arbitrary number and a number of days, that type of thing. So very, very interesting. So tell us a little bit about the technology that you're building and kind of why you built it. What does it do for customers?
Hey, can I bridge off of what you just said? Because
of course. Yeah.
This is like conversation for, I was like having a whole thought
Yeah.
while we were talking. So, since I got involved, right? So, I'm limited by my entire, actual lifespan, but since I got involved in movement building, it's been a discussion about consciousness raising fundamentally, right? Whether you're thinking essentially the right thoughts and whether you're using essentially the right words, right? And what I am so thrilled about with the advent of DEI technology is the ability to know our numbers and to tell our story in data, regardless of what people think or say or believe, right? The leaders who mentored me, this was a long time ago, were saying, measure what matters in their own words, right? Now we have business lit frameworks around it. And they also, another framework that was, relayed to me was like, the numbers will tell our story. Just go get them, right? And we couldn't get them. We're like, let's go to the courthouse and like go through the paper files and see if we can find census records to talk about demographic. I have a paper cut, right? And so like at this day and stage, what we have is an HR tech stack inside the private sector that was never built to tell the demographic story. That was never built to deliver real-time, sophisticated predictive analytics that let DEI leaders really succeed in their role, right? And so what we're seeing now is engineers who were busy, they were busy building iPhones and Teslas. We're like, hey, this space looks good. And I'm like, let me tell you the story. Let me tell you the story behind the founding of Included. So I, was coaching chief executive officers, and one of them was in my practice as a CTO, thinking about his career path, who's now my co-founder, Raghu. And he's like, you know what I'm interested in? DEI. And I was like, oh, friend. How to say. And so, having great technological minds say, I'm a people data expert, right? Or I'm an analytics expert, right? Or I'm an AI expert. Let's do this together and join hands. And so Included.AI is Salesforce for DEI. So we knit together the business units with continuous real-time rich demographic insights, so that just like in sales, you would never miss an opportunity to track a customer, to locate a customer, to engage them. You always know what's happening so that you can nurture the relationship and drive revenue outcomes all up for the company. With Included.AI, you never miss an opportunity to know where your diverse candidates are, to court them, to bring them in, right? To measure at all times how that relationship is going, to see their experience for the entire hiring funnel. Right now, we deliver solutions at the talent acquisition stage of the employee life cycle. So you can always know, measure, make plans, and then execute to drive, what I predict will be breakthrough outcomes for diversity hiring in the private sector.
I want to take a break real quick just to let you know about a new show we've just added to the network. Up Next at Work, hosted by Gene and Katee of the Devon Group. Fantastic show. If you're looking for something that pushes the norm, pushes the boundaries, has some really spirited conversations, Google Up Next at Work, Gene and Katee from the Devon Group.
I don't know, man. That's a lot, because I don't know how you do it, right? But I always look at the things, like, I know my background is within this space, like it is in this tech space, and in the AI space, and in technology. So I look at it and I know that there are lots of different ways of gathering the data, but I also know, being like, a Black woman, there's also ways of manipulating that data. Like, it's so important when people ask me, like, what's the biggest mistake that people make in diversity recruiting? I always say it's because they start looking for diverse candidates without looking at the underlying systems that we are talking about. And in my research, you can tell that people don't feel safe. Like, if you look at like numbers, and this is just like when you ask people to self-disclose, it's funny, not funny. Like, all you see is just like, oh, I'm white, like all the way down the board. And so it's like, how, I don't know what everybody else, like, some people don't have that self-disclosure. And I think part of it is just trust. There's trust issues. We're seeing, it's good to know, like, when you're working with a company that actually cares, that you can promote those things and people feel safer and better to be able to do that. But it's gonna take time, I think, for people to feel safe with whatever that is.
Some of our customers are using, so we are delivering to our customers sort of unprecedented precision insights into their DEI data. And so they're able to turn that data around and share it out with their incoming candidate population to build trust and say, here's our numbers, here's what we're doing with our data, here's what happens when you self-disclose, it drives up our numbers. So our customers have very high disclosure rates once they start showing their data publicly. And I really believe that we are in a, DEI 3.0 moment where transparency and accountability is finally unlocked in a way that it just has never existed before. And so I've been very heavily exposed to the need to build trust as a framework for decades. And it's never going to go away, obviously. But I wonder if some of the frameworks we've been operating with through a liberation politics perspective are starting to need to reorganize themselves around the new levels of transparency and accountability that we have, right? And really, you know this because this is your space, but what we're seeing is the candidate being treated like customer. Right. And so when we talk to the customer part of the brain, which is like, of course, you're going to take my data and you're going to give me amazing ads so that I can buy new jewelry on Instagram. Right. And when we talk to that part of the brain for the candidate, right, we start to change the conversation, which is like everyone, is all in on the ship because we want to take care of you differently. Right. And we're showing the progress we're making continuously.
That is so clear. I thought so. This is my humble brag. It's not really humble, but it's like a full-on brag. So, get your air cigarette ready. Where it's like, I was in the Wall Street Journal, but I thought it was really weird because I'm like, I gave them this brilliant information, but all they wanted to know was you post your salaries, right? That's what they want to know, and we're like, yeah, and they're like, why? Oh, so people know. Thanks. Like it felt like that moment, like in Monsters Inc., when he was like, I'm on TV, and all you see is like feet, like you can't see the whole thing. It kind of felt like that moment because there's so much to this, but it's like, why is that news? And people were just, it's been a game of inches for so long, and I'm so glad that, people are looking at it and saying, oh, you can't do it by yourself. Okay, well, legislate it then, right? Like. It's like, we'll just ask the people. Let's take a vote. Yeah, we want people to do this. And what has also been interesting is the response. And it's the same as you've gone, the same, like, who's complaining about posting, having salary transparency. I'll let you guess. On who doesn't want to do that. And like it's the same people who don't want to teach about what's actually happening in the country and how people have been treated through the same group, and it's like, can we just be done with that? Like, we're done with that. I think collectively we're done with that not working anymore.
What I really want to talk about in response to what you just said is the fact that, when we talk to our customers, we talk to leading chief diversity officers who are fielding, this has come full circle, fielding inbound requests from majority identity candidates on LinkedIn. So white majority identity or male majority identity candidates are saying to them, what is the DEI policy at your company? I need to know before I choose to work there. So majority identity candidates are demanding this information, but why, right? And it's because DEI coming into the enterprise, the demand is so high, not simply and exclusively because it's, quote, the right thing to do, right? Or because enough people have read the same book, but because it represents the advent of grassroots democracy inside the employee experience, right? They know that they're going to get a voice and a vote. And so to come full circle to what you're saying, it turns out that every company that bets on DEI is winning because it's the whole new level of the game, right? And so that's who's succeeding. I can't believe that you get into the Wall Street Journal and you have this wealth of experience, and all they want to know, there it is with the air cigarette. Yeah. All they want to know is, do you, yes, no, up, down, vote, do you publish, right? You're like, I could tell you anything, and I just want to know.
That's right. Right. But that's, I'm sure with all of the wisdom that I gave in the quote, they'll be back. In another 30 years. They'll be back though. I can feel it. But it is like, the thing is that because people are starting to understand, wait, you treat people bad? Like, let's just look at it from that standpoint. I mean, and we're seeing it across the board. It's not just like Black people or people of color. It's like, wait, you treat women bad? Wait, I don't want to work there. You don't have people with disabilities. You don't have accommodations, or you decided not to, you didn't get an interpreter so somebody couldn't interview at your company, or you didn't have a chair for a person to interview at your company so they could wait. Like, especially, there's so much going on in the world. Like, can we just try to treat each other better? There's a lot without us. Like the movie, like, I can do bad by myself. I don't need you to help me do that.
Well, and what we're discovering through all of our customer research as we built our product for Included is that most companies don't have visibility into how candidates are getting treated inside the hiring funnel. Right. So in some limited cases, some companies have access to top of the funnel data about the demographic experience of the candidates. But as you go through, like there's tons of missed opportunities, like you're saying, right, to provide an interpreter on a like one-to-one level or to refine policies and processes, because we know we can pinpoint with surgical accuracy, and that's what Included delivers, the exact point in the hiring funnel where specific demographic groups, intersectional or not, are dropping out, right? And so the ability to know precisely where those experiences are. For example, again, to use the Salesforce metaphor, we would never omit a single moment within the sales funnel to know the customer, to court them, to deliver an unparalleled experience, right? And that's what our customers are using Included for, is to know their data with that level of precision, so they never miss those opportunities.
That's a piece that I think is also so critical, what you just said, just about like what are those touch points? What are those things that need to happen? Because I've always like thought in the way that I visualize employee engagement is almost these threads that tie the employee to the organization. And I think, when you think about a CRM tool such as Salesforce, whatever, HubSpot, whatever you want to call it, it's what are those touch points and how different are they for every individual? And obviously they shouldn't be. They should be consistent. They should be equitable, all of those things. And so I think that's one of the pieces too, is just how do you create an environment that is more equitable by being more consistent and by using a tool such as Included?
Yeah, I mean, the way our customers are doing that, so there's very few DEI best practices that have actually passed the rigor of inspection. And I say that with full humility, you guys, because I led anti-bias trainings in the early 2000s that have been proven not to work.
So, that's because they weren't biased.
Yeah.
Like, you can't teach people about bias if they're not biased.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
So, yeah, fail.
No bias there. Yeah.
It's like a sad trombone experience for me when all the research came out. I was like, that was like a quarter of my life.
Yeah. But again, like yes, but then also I think there is like, I have been in the same boat where you take that, the joke of, hey, if you take that 2-hour bias training, that doesn't eliminate bias, unfortunately. But I think there's that piece too of that's where the awareness though comes in, because how many hiring leaders, how many folks have you talked to about bias that like when that light bulb goes off of, oh wait, you're talking to me too? Oh, I thought I figured this out. I don't have bias. And I'm like, no, I still do have bias. Every single one of us does. And, that's just the way that this works. So I think that's a piece too, that yes, I had the same sad trombone moment of like,
however, you know what just started working? And this was like a weird, so I started teaching the stages of bias.
Yes.
That's actually working.
Okay.
Because people are like, because if you say, oh, you're biased, don't be biased, right? That's like saying, oh, like you want to be skinny, well then, like eat less. That's like not saying, oh, you drink a 2-liter Dr. Pepper a day. Let's start with that. Like, oh, like you seem to be carb loaded and you eat Cheetos at 2:00 in the morning. Like, you can't just say, just do this, right? So you can't just say, don't be biased, because people don't recognize, like it starts with I don't even know what bias is and I'm not biased, but my gut is telling me, I think this is an awesome candidate. And you're like, sure. Okay. So I started doing the stages with examples and I've seen some changes. Stay tuned, because it's still out there. I can't tell you. I will only know 18 months from like now if it is like stuck, but explaining those pieces. But like, yeah, we're starting, because this is the first time that people have actually let people go full stage with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like beyond the ERG, like beyond the book club. Ooh, that sounds like a good name for an actual book.
I was just going to say, gosh, that's a title. Like you just like speaking titles. I love it.
Beyond
I
the
know.
book club.
What I was going to put that is that, gosh, I wish, by the way, that the research had come out earlier so I could have saved my breath. But when I was pointing to it was like such an epic moment, But you're right. Things are the cycle of measuring DEI best practices has sped up, and thank God. Personally, my preference is that everything get measured and tested so that we can get about our business, which is the business of wealth transfer and the creation of opportunities and access. That's been my business since I was 18 years old. And my question is within the diversity hiring function, right? Or the question that we brought to market with Included is which practices have actually passed rigorous inspection for driving real diversity hiring outcomes? And the answer is very few, very, very few practices. One of them, one of them is diverse candidate slates. Another one is having a diverse loop of interviewers. Right. And it's so personally, I'm like high vibe about like stripping all the fluff out and being like, let's drive a train that stays on the tracks. Right. And so with Included's operational capabilities, right, we're able to help companies to continuously track and see the success rate of every single open rec. Is there a diverse candidate slate at the top of the funnel? Is there a diverse slate going to interview? Is there a diverse loop set up for each rec? And then, we'll engage the recruiters or the hiring managers or the correct individuals to make sure that those things are happening, right? And that's really where we're at, is the ability for the predictive analytics to know as things are unfolding what direction we're headed in, right? Just like a revenue forecast. Are we on track to succeed with our intentions here, right? And that's really what I think is so interesting, is to move from, like a spray and pray approach with tactics to just like, let's do this one thing, let's do it well, right? And I think the private sector in other ways has shown what that looks like, and we've yet to see that come to fruition in this side of the house.
Yeah, I just wish we could do like a test. So because what's not being done is analytics of the recruiter to say, is this recruiter going to even send you diverse candidates once they find those candidates?
We show that
pre-hire.
Our
based on what?
So our platform, I can't predict. I mean, I guess I could predict based on their historical data, but we're able to show out the impact of every hiring manager, every recruiter.
Oh no.
Yeah.
See, I want it before they come in the door. I just want like some weird thing on LinkedIn that just flashed really quick. I mean, they don't have to show everybody, but they'll be like, like that's all, like, I wish I could see it walking in the door.
Swipe left.
It's going to be a little, that's what I need. Because I mean, at some point it will just be the norm where people will have better expectations when they're held accountable to some of these numbers. Because I'm saying before you even get there, like I wish there was like a typing test to say, oh yeah, this is not going to work for our organization. Yeah. Yeah. Where's that trombone again?
Yeah.
So obviously the new technology, and you said it obviously is going well. What else is going on within either the coaching business or, what else are you focused on? What else do you want to talk about?
I think, my primary focus right now is figuring out sort of where is the hockey puck headed with the regulatory landscape around human capital management reporting when it comes to DEI. Those external pressures that are being visited upon the private sector are driving, like a percentage of the executive population that was not previously bought in to the business case for diversity, which, by the way, we find a huge acceptance for now. I know you guys see that too. So I'm really interested in, sort of NASDAQ, SEC, the state of California's board regulations for diversity that went down in litigation. We expect them to come back. And then also, like, where's the hockey puck headed with this high level of hunger for precision and DEI data? I mean, we have yet to see the outcomes unlocked, right? Because those solutions like Included are still being deployed right now in their first like 24 months. And so is this really going to drive, the breakthroughs that we're hoping for, right? So that's a big question mark in my head is, is this going to be the key that unlocks the door, I don't know if that's the case. When I was 19, I thought, getting people to understand the structures of our society might work. Now I'm here and I'm really curious about what it means to put tools in leaders' hands that give them the information they need. And then the final piece is really just, when it comes to the pipeline, right, for female, Black, brown, disabled, queer talent in high-paying jobs, the investment in that infrastructure, I think, is really the next place that our customers are interested in. And as a result, I'm interested in too. Some of the greatest thinkers that we've had access to, diversity leaders at scale, are spending a lot of their time investing in that infrastructure, the pipeline, the education of like Black and brown children to make sure that they're having total access, right, to the skill sets that prepare them for opportunities that are high paying and high demand. So thinking kind of, again, always structurally, right? I'm thinking about the regulatory landscape. I'm thinking about the pipeline issues. A lot of it ends up back at the government level.
Remember that feeling the first day of school, looking for your table in the cafeteria? Do you know anybody? Where are you supposed to sit? You don't know, but you definitely feel like there's toilet paper on the bottom of your shoe. Ugh, this is the worst. Well, you know what they say, high school never ends. I'm Anna Morgan, former corporate recruiter turned entrepreneur, and I know the workforce can feel just as complicated and cliquey as high school. Trust me, I've been there. The layoffs, the imposter syndrome, the what the hell am I doing moments at 3 a.m. It all brought one point into focus. We all deserve a place to belong and learn. So I started this podcast just for us. Welcome to your Career BFF podcast, a place where everyone has a seat at the table, complete with masterclasses, no BS advice, and candid conversations with some of my favorite people. It's the Breakfast Club meets the boardroom. So whether you're the rebel challenging the status quo, the brain strategizing your next move, or the quiet wizard making magic behind the scenes, you have a seat. So grab your backpack, find your spot, and get ready to learn, laugh, and lead together. Because in this classroom, everyone's got a BFF. Class starts soon. See you there. Bye.
Yeah, I think so environmental, social governance, all of these, the ESG stuff that's coming up for so many organizations, especially, as you said, the publicly traded companies, the conversations that I'm having that, the CFO is now saying, Katee, tell me more. Tell me more of the things that I need to be aware of, or what else we need to put in this report, which again, even 3 years ago, would have been unheard of. That was kind of always my joke, is the CFO never really was that on board, or I won't say didn't care, because that's not nice and that's a generalization, but it was like, show me the number, show me. Yeah, Jackie's face, if y'all are watching, you can see it, but if you're just listening, but it's right. Like the CFO was like, no, show me the numbers. And now that we have the data to be able to say, here's the thing, when you have a diverse candidate slate, here is the statistical, difference that it will make in how many people you will hire that are underrepresented. Like, that's data that they can wrap their head around.
You just summed up my whole planet in like 3 words, which is like, here's the data. Right. That's
right.
It.
Even people are crazy. They crave the data, but then you show them the data and they're like, nuh-uh, like they gaslight themselves. So like that, we need to get there. Okay, here's your data. And they're like, no, Ronald wouldn't do. Ronald is doing it. We gotta, like, it's Ronald. That's what I always say. Like, the numbers don't lie. Like, we can tell at any stage of the funnel where we're at. And then we can look. I think it's what's funny at Textio. It's just, we look at language, right? So then we're like, oh, we've seen an increase in these problematic phrases and job posts, and we're like, is it getting a little stressful in sales? Like, you start seeing all this language that comes up, like metrics driven, like president's club, like all this stuff that you're like, oh,
the fast-paced ninjas
over there,
the fast-paced ninjas of the world. Yes, they're all there.
That's the job title. I'm looking for a fast-paced ninja. Guru.
Well, Jackye, let me ask you a question. Actually, I couldn't help but think, as I was coming onto this podcast, you're a leader of both DEI and talent acquisition at a tech company. That means that you are my customer.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't help become curious sort of about the problem set that you're facing. I mean, that included, we are 100% customer obsessed. And anytime I get a chance to talk to a leader in the DEI/TA space, right? Like I'm thinking about Christy Robinson, who's also the head of DEI and TA at BarkBox, who's a customer of ours. I want to know sort of like, what are your, Franklin Covey, like, what are your big rocks right now? Like, what are you really trying to wrap your arms around?
Well, I just think in general, it's like when you look at skills gaps, right? And you have, let's just pretend that you're a company and you have Acme Brick as one of your technologies, but nobody's using Acme Brick, right? So then you're like, hiring manager, do you need, what are the requirements? And you're like, what about Acme Brick? And they're like, no, you don't really need it, right? And so you see, like, you're like, no, wait, you need it. And then you have people who are like, oh, I got to quit because I thought I was going to learn Acme Brick and I didn't learn Acme Brick. And so you're like, okay, you have to hire somebody with Acme Brick, right? So when you're talking about it, what I always am trying to wrap my hands around it is that you're trying to, it's a, let's look at it from a holistic point of view. Like when you know that you're doing the culture ad, that is different than everybody who's here, that's always going to be the challenge. And so we have to look at those types of gaps as well as skill gaps to make sure that we have the alignment. And also with us, we are inclusive across the board. And so somebody came and tried to sell me something the other day and they were like, oh, like you need more women. Am I right? I was like, we have one man on our exec team. No, I need more men on my exec team. I need, I don't have that. So now what? Like, oh, like this is like this group. Like, nope, we're good there. And explaining the inclusive, like it's making sure that we have access to everyone that I'm needing, right? So that's the biggest pain point. It's like not everybody who has a commitment to diversity and inclusion is looking just for Black and brown women, right? There's people with disabilities, there's members LGBTQ+, there's all of these various groups, and we need to make sure that we're inclusive across the board. And so it's great at the top of the funnel, but it's like looking at every department and seeing what is working there, what's not working there. And sometimes it's like, oh, well, majority are in this time zone versus that time zone. Like, or some people have this language. We don't have anybody who speaks this language, or what are the types of things that we can do? So we have to look at it from a holistic view, and that changes on the regular as soon as somebody walks in or somebody walks out. And so keeping the pulse on that is always a challenge, and wanting to do it proactively so you can make sure that you don't miss a beat. Can be challenging, and looking at what's like regrettable versus non-regrettable loss of staff. Like, one of those things.
I was inspired. Sorry, I have a habit of overlapping speeches. I was born on the East Coast. I was inspired by what you were saying to think about how, in the origins of what is now referred to as the DEI space, the frameworks are pretty rigid, right? Good or bad, racist or not racist, sexist or not sexist, right? And that, with DEI really taking up its home inside the private sector, it's had to incorporate agile, right? It's had to become flexible, customizable experience per set of business goals. But if you roll the tape back to, the tons and tons of workshops and trainings we all did in the last several decades, right? There was always an issue in the room of people saying, yes, I like what you're saying. I want to be a good person. And this is starting to like turn on a light bulb for me. But there's a way in which something that's very true about my life doesn't actually fit what you're saying. And then there's always that point in the workshop where you're like, I understand, and you're a real person, and your multiple identities matter. And really, like if you blow that out to the enterprise level, right? Like it's just what you're saying, right? That the solutions we deliver, and this is true for Included as well, have to be massively customizable. So that like, the sales department might be wanting to hire, to be stupid about it, more women, but the HR department might be wanting to hire more men, so forth and so on, right? To be able to customize the analytics to be delivered with precision to the people who need them in the way that they need them to drive results. And for me, this is very exciting And I really had that thought about connecting the previous rigidity to the new flexibility. I do think the influence of agile on DEI is fascinating. Like, I don't think we would like, who could have conceived of this mashup in 1998?
Girl, listen, you know what I was doing in 1998? I don't even remember. I do, but
it's not appropriate to discuss on a podcast.
Yeah. But it's like, we just like, it is exciting that we're kind of like, you're getting a more baseline where people are starting to get the diversity part. It is the inclusion and the belonging part, and having that underlying current and moving from nice to kind is a big piece of being able to have that language, and being like, trying to develop a culture of candor is hard, because you're always going to have somebody who overshoots, right? Who's like, you're dumb and your mom's dumb. You're like, woo, close. Pull it. If you could just pull it back. And someone else is going to be like, you're pretty. Like, okay, tell me about my mom. She's pretty too. And you're like, okay, we're not getting there. So, there's just so many steps. And I think we have started to be able to push the needle, and just trying to meet people where they are. And the bigger you get and the more you let this go out of control without anybody holding people accountable, the harder it is to wrangle back.
Man, yes. And when we think about sort of the impact that has on retention and attrition, right? We put so much effort, or at least our customers do, into hiring, their rock star diverse slates of candidates, right? And then keeping those folks in the enterprise. And you're like, I'm out here trying to teach people not to be rude. Right? I mean, like, there's so many moving pieces for what it means for us, I mean, from a purely business perspective, I mean, that's a huge investment that companies are making, right? And locating their rock star diverse talent. And then, like, what does it mean then to invest in the employee experience internally? Is it book clubs? Is it kegs, right? Is it ping pong, right? Or is it actually troubleshooting the policies, right? I mean, like, remote work has really taught us a lot, right? It turns out that I didn't need a stuffy on my work anniversary. I needed to work from home.
I want a stuffy.
I want a stuffy too. But I love that. I love that.
But that's what Included does, right? Is we say, let's examine the actual reasons. This is like, radical politics 101, root cause analysis. Let's examine the actual reason that people stay or go, right? And not just scattershot, try harder. Because I think we're done trying harder, right? We want to work smarter. We want to work faster. But by the way, I'm happy to get you guys stuffies. Like, no problem.
Oh, thanks.
We'll be waiting. Yeah, we'll be waiting for those. No. Awesome. All right. So what we like to do to kind of wrap up each episode is to just ask the question of, what is the one thing that you want folks who are listening to take away from this conversation? What's one thing that you want to make sure they heard you say or heard us talk about?
It can be two things. There's no pressure.
No, it's only one, Laura. Don't even try it. Jackye does it all the time, but I'm 2022. I'm the enforcer. No, I'm just kidding. Do you want a minute to think about it? Because we'll make Jackye go first if you want.
No, it's like remote work goes over stuffies. That's what I need people to say. No.
Yeah, I like it.
And Jackye's like, and scene, you're done. I'm a huge advocate for HRTA and DEI leaders, and even hiring managers and business unit leaders and C-suite, to demand more from their DEI data. Our expectations are so low for what we're allowed to see and know, what levels of precision and how fast, right? And so I really want to challenge everyone to demand the entire truth and to demand it instantly, just like we would in any other part of the business.
Awesome. Love it. Jackye?
I just want people to keep going. If you feel stuck, just keep going, because I don't think we could have imagined that we were going to have this conversation. Even like in starting the podcast, I don't think we were ever going to have this conversation. Wasn't that our first podcast? Like, everyone sucks and we're diversity people and it's hard. But
and we need a nap.
It's still hard, just different. Yeah. So
we all need a nap.
Yeah, just keep going. I think if we all keep going, then we can get there, but it's going to take all of us.
I love that.
I think
that's 1.5-ish. Yeah, no, I think that's good. Mine is just the whole idea of don't just throw stuff against a wall. And yes, I know that that's something that a lot of companies are doing, but be thoughtful about it. And, I think even if you, like Laura, you mentioned, do one thing and do it really, really well to see if how you can actually make a difference. And I think that's just such a critical thing to hear and have people understand. And, I'm a huge fan of diverse candidate slates. If you just did that, just that one thing, the impact that you can have, or if, talking about Jackie's realm, if you just change the language on your job postings and nothing else, what a difference you could have on the amount of candidates and the different candidates that you would get. So just do one thing that is really, really good that we know works and do it well, and then measure it, and then do the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. Because I think that's a one piece, Jackye, you're talking about taking a nap, all that stuff. I think that's one of the other pieces that you start talking about D&I to leaders and you see their eyes kind of glaze over because they're like, holy crap, what? We have to do all of those things. But when you start to, and even I know we're joking about book clubs, even that there's a book that I highly recommend that every team goes through, and I facilitate it and I love it. That's one thing that you can help to just create that more awareness and all of these things. And so one thing, do it really well. So I don't know. That wasn't really one, Jackye. I think that was like a summary of all.
Yeah. I was like, isn't that like half? That didn't feel like a full idea. It's like half baked. So that makes sense. That's okay. I gave an extra half. That counts.
Okay. All right. We're good. All right. So thank you all for listening. Laura, thank you so much for being here. We truly enjoyed the conversation, and look forward to connecting again soon. This is Katee Van Horn.
And this is Jackye Clayton.
And this is the Inclusive AF podcast.
Oh yeah, that.
Bye.
Bye.